Hey guys, yesterday I asked you a question. I asked you guys to find out where Jesus claims to be God or to be the Son of God in the scriptures. And it was kind of a trick question. The reason behind that is Christ didn't come out and say it in a way that was obvious. Because if he did, they would have crucified him or at least made an honest attempt, and people wouldn't have been nearly as on his side as they were, because the two types of blasphemy that there were was to claim divinity for yourself, to say things like, I have the same rights as God, or I am like God, and that was considered a blasphemy, and they would have killed them. Sorry about the leaf blowing, guys. Or to say the name of God, which the Hebrews called Yahweh. But if you go to John 8 and go all the way down to verse 57, where he's talking to the Jewish people, they say, "You are not 50 years old," the Jews said to him, "and you have seen Abraham? I tell you the truth," Jesus answered, "before Abraham was born, I am." Now, that's actually a reference to Exodus. Christ is making a reference to the Old Testament in a very sly way. He is letting them know, I am God. Right here, this I am is a perfect tense. So a lot of other languages have other tense that we don't have. So we have past, present, and then future. In the Greek, and I believe in the Hebrew, there was such a thing called perfect tense, where a statement was true continuously. So he's not saying before Abraham was born, I was. He's saying I have always been. And if you go to the Old Testament in Exodus and you see where God is in the burning bush and talking to Moses, and Moses asks him for his name so he can tell the people who he's talking to, God says, I am that I am. So tell them that I am sent you. Now, the struggle with this is certain individuals will not accept the book of John, believe it or not, because it was the last book of the gospel to be written. And their opinion on that is that because it was written last, it's the most corrupted, quote unquote. For example, most Muslims will accept the Gospels, except for John. Some of them will, but so if we go to evangelize with those kind of people, or we're trying to minister to them, and they ask you this question, you can go to Mark. Mark is according to scholars, it's the first book of the Gospels that was written, so it's the oldest one. It took place closest to the death of Jesus. And if you go to Mark, and you look up in 14, and it's going to be in verse 61, but Jesus remained silent and gave no answer. This is during the interrogation before the crucifixion. Again, the high priest asked him, Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One? I am, said Jesus. There's that I am again. But it's a weaker argument whether that is a reference to Exodus or not. But, said Jesus, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. So the Son of Man, if you ever notice, Christ was the only one that ever called himself the Son of Man. Nobody else did. He always did. They'd call him Rabbi, Teacher, Messiah, Lord. But if you go to the Old Testament in the book of Daniel, and I believe it's in chapter 7, you'll see Daniel talking, and he sees this guy who is like a man, like the Son of a Man, walking up to God's throne. And God gives him all authority and all power and all glory. And some versions of your Bible is going to say, and everyone of every tongue will serve him. Other versions are going to say, worship him. The difference there is the word that's used. Why sometimes we interpret that as worship is because the word that's used there in Hebrew was only ever reserved for holy service to God. So when he says he's the Son of the Most Blessed One, when he says he's the Son of Man, he's referring to that prophecy in Daniel. And so when he does that, he's telling the people, I am the Son of Man. 1 second. So those are two references. If you ever get confounded, or if someone tries to bring up something to you and tell you something different than what is the truth, or try and tell you God never says that or Jesus never says he's the Son of Man. Those are two things you can utilize to help people to see why we believe what we believe. All right, guys, have a good day. Love you.